The year was 2157, and humanity had finally reached beyond their solar system. The massive ship called Star Voyager drifted through the darkness of space, its engines humming quietly. Inside, Captain John Miller stood at the large viewing window, watching the stars. He had been chosen to lead the first human delegation to meet the aliens known as the Zentari. "Captain, we're receiving the signal," said Sam Porter from his communications station. Sam was young but skilled, with bright eyes that showed both excitement and nervousness. "The Zentari mothership will be within visual range in 5 minutes." John nodded and straightened his uniform. "Alert the rest of the team. We need to be ready." The diplomatic team assembled quickly in the bridge. Dr. Olivia Grant adjusted her scientific instruments while reviewing alien biology notes on her tablet. Lieutenant Kevin Harris checked his sidearm one last time before securing it in its ceremonial holster. Diane Woods, the cultural attaché, practiced greeting phrases in what little they knew of the Zentari language. "Remember," John told his team, "we represent all of Earth today. The Zentari are the first intelligent species we've ever contacted. Let's make sure we don't start an interstellar incident." The bridge fell silent as a massive shape appeared in the distance. The Zentari mothership was unlike anything humans had designed. It resembled a giant leaf with crystal-like structures growing from its surface. It dwarfed the Star Voyager by at least 20 times. "It's beautiful," Olivia whispered. As the xenobiologist of the team, she had studied the limited data they had on the Zentari for years, but seeing their ship in person left her speechless. The communication system crackled. "Human vessel, this is High Commander Kazextel of the Zentari Exploration Fleet. We welcome you to shared space. Prepare for docking procedure." The voice was clearly artificial, run through translation software, but the message was unmistakable. First contact was happening. 2 hours later, after careful docking procedures, the human delegation stood before the entrance to the Zentari ship. The airlock cycled, and the door slid open. The Zentari were even stranger than the human scientists had predicted. They stood on 6 thin legs with bodies covered in a blue-green exoskeleton that shimmered under the lights. Their upper bodies split into 4 arms, each ending in 3-fingered hands. Their heads were dominated by large compound eyes that reflected the humans like mirrors. High Commander Kazextel stepped forward. He was larger than the others, with markings on his exoskeleton that looked like decorations or badges of rank. "We greet you in peace," the translation device attached to his body spoke. "Long have we observed your transmissions from afar. At last we meet face to face." John stepped forward and bowed slightly. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, we return your greeting of peace. We are honored to be the first humans to meet your people." The diplomatic exchange continued as the humans were led through the alien ship. The Zentari moved with precise, measured steps. Each movement seemed calculated and efficient. The humans tried to match their pace, but their natural walking rhythm felt awkward and random compared to their hosts. The Zentari Supreme Council waited in a large chamber. 7 elder Zentari sat in a semicircle, their exoskeletons showing signs of age with faded colors and small cracks. They watched the humans with unblinking compound eyes. "The council has been eager for this meeting," Kazextel explained. "Our species has not encountered intelligent life like yours before. You are unique in our experience." The council members clicked their mandibles in what the humans hoped was agreement. One council member leaned forward. "We are particularly interested in your biology. Our scans show remarkable differences between our species." Olivia stepped forward. "We would be happy to share information about human physiology, and we're equally interested in learning about the Zentari." The exchange of information began. For the next week, the humans settled into guest quarters aboard the Zentari ship. Each day brought new discoveries and challenges. The Zentari were methodical and extremely intelligent, but also rigid in their thinking. They seemed puzzled by human humor and confused by emotional displays. On the 8th day, the Zentari scientists requested physical demonstrations from the humans. The delegation was brought to a large laboratory where monitoring equipment had been set up. We wish to observe your physical capabilities, the lead Zentari scientist explained. Our preliminary data suggests unusual endurance patterns in your species. Kevin demonstrated human strength by lifting weights. Sam showed dexterity by solving a complex puzzle box. When it was Diane's turn, she was asked to show human endurance. Perhaps you could use the movement device, the scientist suggested, pointing to what looked like a treadmill adapted for human use. Diane nodded and stepped onto the machine. How long should I go for? Until you require rest, came the answer. Diane began at a walking pace, then increased to a light jog. The Zentari scientists watched with their multifaceted eyes, recording data and chittering among themselves. After 10 minutes, Diane was barely sweating. After 20, she was still comfortable. At 30 minutes, she asked if she should continue. The reaction from the Zentari was immediate and unexpected. The scientists backed away from their stations. Their bodies stiffened, and a high-pitched sound filled the air. Is something wrong? John asked, concerned by their reaction. High Commander Kazaextel's voice sounded strained through the translator. Your companion, she continues this rapid movement without distress, without need for recovery? Olivia realized something important was happening. Yes, humans can maintain this pace for hours if properly trained. Diane here could probably run for at least 2 hours at this speed. The laboratory erupted in urgent clicking sounds as the Zentari communicated rapidly among themselves. The compound eyes of every Zentari in the room were fixed on Diane, who slowed the treadmill, unsure if she should continue. Have we done something offensive? John asked, trying to understand their reaction. Zextel's body posture had changed completely. He stood rigidly, his legs locked in what seemed like a defensive stance. Not offensive, he replied slowly. Concerning. In our species, such movement is only possible in short bursts and only in response to extreme danger. It damages our bodies to move so quickly for so long. To see your kind do it with ease and without purpose is disturbing. The humans exchanged glances, suddenly understanding. What was normal exercise for them looked like a panic response to the Zentari. We can stop the demonstration, John offered. No, Kazaextel responded, his posture relaxing slightly. We must understand our differences if our species are to build relations. But know this. When the Zentari observed your kind from afar, nothing disturbed us more than when we watched in horror as the humans began running. As the day ended, both species knew they had much to learn about each other. The humans realized that something as simple as running could be seen as terrifying to another species, and the Zentari realized that their new human allies were even more alien than they had first thought. 3 months passed since the first meeting between humans and Zentari. The diplomatic team from Earth had settled into a rhythm of daily meetings and cultural exchanges aboard the massive Zentari mothership. Both species were learning about each other, though misunderstandings still happened often. Lieutenant Kevin Harris sat in the human quarters thinking about morale. The diplomatic mission was important, but his team seemed restless. They needed something to boost spirits and perhaps build stronger bonds with their Zentari hosts. What if we organize some kind of sports event? Kevin suggested during the morning briefing. Something friendly to show how humans relax and compete. Captain John Miller considered the idea. That could work. The Zentari are still fascinated by our physical abilities. It might help them understand us better. Olivia Grant looked concerned. Remember how they reacted when Diane was jogging? We need to be careful about this. That's exactly why we should do it. Sam Porter chimed in. They need to see that running isn't a sign of danger for us, it's fun. John nodded. I'll propose it to High Commander Kazaextel today. A friendly competition between our species could be a diplomatic breakthrough. Later that day, John met with Kazaextel in the commander's chamber. The Zentari leader's compound eyes reflected John's image as he listened to the proposal. A competition of physical activities? Kazaextel's translator device conveyed his words. This is unusual. The purpose would be entertainment? And friendship, John explained. On Earth, friendly competition helps build bonds between different groups. We could showcase activities from both our cultures. Kazaextel's mandibles clicked. rapidly as he considered. I will allow this, but with conditions. We must monitor the vital signs of all participants, and I will assign my son, Junior Science Officer Zakir, to oversee the Zentari team. John smiled. Thank you, Commander. This means a lot to us. Zakir was younger than most Zentari the humans had met. His exoskeleton was brighter blue without the weathering that came with age. He seemed genuinely curious about humans, often asking questions that other Zentari considered too direct. I am honored to coordinate with you, Zakir told Kevin as they planned the event. But I must express concern. Some of your sports involve rapid movement that would signal extreme distress in our culture. Kevin nodded. We understand. We'll start slowly and explain everything before we do it. Would it help if we showed recordings of human sports first? Yes, Zakir agreed. Visual preparation would be beneficial for my team. For the next week, the humans shared videos of various Earth sports with the Zentari. The aliens watched with what seemed like horrified fascination as humans ran marathons, played soccer, and competed in swimming races. Despite their obvious discomfort, a small group of young Zentari volunteered to participate in the event. The day of the competition arrived. A large chamber had been converted into a sports arena. Zentari crew members gathered to watch, keeping a safe distance from the area marked for activities. The human team wore matching blue uniforms, while the Zentari volunteers wore special flexible coverings over their exoskeletons. We will begin with Zentari precision movement, Zakir announced. Then progress to human activities. The Zentari demonstration was impressive. 6 aliens moved in perfect synchronization, their movements so precisely timed it seemed impossible. They created complex patterns, while never varying their speed or position by even a millimeter. The humans applauded, genuinely amazed by the display. Now, Zakir said, his voice slightly nervous through the translator, we will attempt to understand your walking race activity. The humans had decided that a slow walking race would be the safest way to introduce the concept of human racing. Diane Woods lined up alongside 2 young Zentari. At Zakir's signal, they began walking forward at what humans would consider a very slow pace. The Zentari audience watched closely. Some made soft clicking sounds that the translation devices didn't catch. To everyone's surprise, the event went well. The Zentari participants completed the walking course without showing signs of distress. Encouraged by this success, Kevin suggested they move to the next activity. Now we'll show you a human relay race, but at a very slow pace. 4 humans lined, up on one side, and 4 Zentari on the other. Each would walk quickly to their teammate and pass a baton. The first team to complete the circuit would win. When the race began, everything seemed fine. The humans deliberately kept their pace slow. The Zentari moved with careful steps, passing their baton with precise movements. The audience seemed engaged, some even making sounds that might have been cheering. Then Sam Porter, caught up in the excitement, forgot the plan. When he received the baton for the final leg, he broke into a light jog. The reaction was immediate and catastrophic. The Zentari audience erupted in high-pitched alarm calls. Many backed away rapidly, some even knocking over equipment in their haste. The Zentari participants froze in place, their bodies rigid with what the humans now recognized as fear. Stop! Stop! Zakir called out, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech. Danger response! Why danger response? Sam skidded to a halt, suddenly aware of what he'd done. I'm sorry, I got caught up in the moment. There's no danger. But the damage was done. High Commander Kezi Extel rushed into the chamber, flanked by security officers. Their postures were defensive, and they carried devices the humans had never seen before. What threat exists? Kazixtel demanded. Why does the human display emergency movement? John stepped forward, hands raised. There's no threat, Commander. Sam was just running as part of the game. It was a mistake. We agreed to move slowly. A game? The commander's voice through the translator couldn't hide his disbelief. You use danger signals as entertainment? Before John could answer, another human made things worse. In an attempt to show how normal running was, Paul Bennett, the team's physician, began jogging in place. See? It's completely normal. We do this for fun and exercise. The Zentari security officers moved between Paul and their commander. Throughout the chamber, alarm signals blared. On screens around the room, status indicators changed from blue to red. Olivia grabbed Paul's arm, stopping him. "You're making it worse. To them, you look like you're fleeing from a predator." Zakir approached the humans while the other Zentari maintained their distance. "You must understand," he said urgently. "In our evolutionary history, running depletes vital energy and damages our joints. We only run when death is imminent. If humans run without cause, our people can only conclude that you sense a danger we cannot detect." As if to confirm his words, an announcement echoed throughout the ship. Alert status elevated. Unknown threat detected. All sections prepare for emergency protocols. John looked at his team with growing alarm. What had begun as a friendly athletic event was spiraling into a diplomatic disaster. The Zentari weren't just confused by human running, they were terrified by it. And now, that fear was spreading throughout the entire mothership. "We need to fix this," John said quietly to his team, "before their fear of our running starts something we can't stop." The alarms continued to sound throughout the Zentari mothership. Red lights flashed in every corridor. The human diplomatic team was quickly escorted back to their quarters by Zentari security officers who moved with stiff, anxious motions. "This is bad," John Miller said once they were alone. "Really bad." Olivia Grant was already reviewing her notes on Zentari biology. Their entire physiology is different from ours. Their exoskeletons make quick movement painful and energy-intensive. Running literally damages their bodies, so when they see us run, they think we're sacrificing our health because of extreme danger, Kevin Harris added, and now they think there's some invisible threat on their ship. John paced the room. "We need to talk to Commander Kazizextel. Explain that this is all a misunderstanding." Sam Porter shook his head. "They're not answering our communication requests. I've tried 3 times. A soft sound at their door made everyone turn. It slid open to reveal Zakir, the junior science officer. He entered quickly and closed the door behind him. "I should not be here," he said through his translator. "But I fear a serious conflict may develop without intervention." "What's happening out there?" John asked. Zakir's compound eyes reflected the room's lights. "The emergency protocols have activated throughout the fleet. Our ships are moving into defense formation." "Defense formation? Around what?" Diane Woods asked. "Around your planet," Zakir said simply. The humans exchanged alarmed glances. "But there's no threat," Kevin protested. "My people believe there must be," Zakir explained. "If humans run without physical necessity, the logical conclusion is that you detect a danger our sensors cannot. The fleet is responding to protect both our species from this unknown threat." Back on Earth, the movement of the Zentari fleet had not gone unnoticed. In the NASA Deep Space Monitoring Center, astronomer Paul Bennett stared at his screen in disbelief. "Sir, the Zentari ships are changing position," he reported to his supervisor. "All 23 vessels are forming some kind of pattern around Earth." Within an hour, Earth Defense Command was on high alert. Military leaders from around the world gathered in an emergency video conference. Commander Nicole Rogers addressed the grim-faced officials on her screen. "The Zentari fleet has arranged itself in what appears to be a defensive formation. All attempts to contact them have received automated responses about emergency protocols being in effect." "What about our diplomatic team?" asked a general from the European Union. "No direct communication," Nicole replied. "We're receiving automated messages stating they are secure during the emergency." "What emergency?" demanded the Chinese representative. "Is this the prelude to an invasion?" Nicole shook her head. "We don't know, but I've ordered our space defense systems to active status. The lunar base is preparing its defense grid, and we've activated the orbital platforms." Back on the Zentari mothership, John and his team were trying to convince Zakir to help them reach High Commander Kazextel. "Your father must listen to us," John insisted. "This is all a cultural misunderstanding." Zakir's posture showed his inner conflict. My father believes he is protecting everyone. In our history, ignoring danger signs has led to catastrophe. Olivia stepped forward. Zakir, in human physiology, running is not damaging. Our bodies evolved to run long distances. Our ancestors hunted by chasing prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. For us, running can actually be healthy. The young Zentari seemed stunned by this information. This is difficult to comprehend. You evolved as pursuit predators? Yes, Olivia confirmed. While your species evolved to conserve energy and move efficiently. Meanwhile, in the command center of the mothership, High Commander Kazizextel received disturbing news. The humans on their planet are activating defense systems, reported his security chief. Energy signatures indicate weapons powering up on their moon and in orbit. Kazizextel's mandibles clicked rapidly in distress. They see our protective formation as threatening. This confirms my fear. The humans sense something we cannot. They prepare for battle. Should we move to attack position? Asked the security chief. No, Kazizextel decided. Maintain defensive formation. Send message to Earth authorities. We are protecting them from detected danger. On Earth, Commander Nicole Rogers read the new message from the Zentari with confusion. They claim they're protecting us from what? Maybe it's a translation error, suggested her communications officer. Or a trick to make us lower our guard, said the military advisor. Nicole rubbed her temples. Something isn't adding up. Get me any information you can about Zentari biology and culture. There's a piece missing here. Back in the human quarters, on the Zentari ship, Zakir had made a decision. I will help you speak to my father, he told the humans. But we must be careful. The ship is on emergency status. Movement is restricted. Thank you, John said sincerely. You're preventing a disaster. Zakir led them through back corridors of the ship, avoiding the main areas where security would be heaviest. They occasionally passed Zentari crew members who gave them alarmed looks but didn't stop them when they saw Zakir. The command center is ahead, Zakir whispered. My access code should work, but... He stopped suddenly. Around the corner they could hear voices. Zakir motioned for them to wait and peered carefully ahead. Security checkpoint, he reported. 4 officers with emergency weapons. Can we go another way? Kevin asked. Zakir shook his head. No. All paths to command are guarded during emergency. Protocols. We need a distraction, Diane suggested. Sam looked guilty. I might have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Before anyone could stop him, Sam stepped around the corner and began jogging in place. The reaction was immediate. The Zentari security officers emitted alarm calls and backed away, their attention completely focused on the running human. Go, Sam shouted to the others. I'll lead them away. John hesitated, then nodded, while Sam took off down a corridor, with the security officers cautiously following at a distance. The rest of the team slipped past the checkpoint with Zakir. They reached the command center doors, but Zakir's code was rejected. Emergency override in effect, Zakir explained. My father has locked down command to highest level access only. All this way for nothing, John said in frustration. Olivia suddenly had an idea. Zakir, could you broadcast a ship-wide message from somewhere else? From a science station, maybe? Possibly, Zakir replied, but it would be detected quickly. We only need a minute, Olivia insisted. They hurried to a nearby research lab that was empty due to the emergency. Zakir worked quickly at the control panel. Ready, he said. But we will only have moments before security cuts the transmission. John stepped up to the panel. This is Captain John Miller of Earth. There is no emergency. The running you saw, humans doing is normal for our species. We do not detect any danger. Please contact Earth immediately to confirm no threat exists. The message broadcast throughout the ship and to the rest of the fleet. Within seconds, the panel went dark as security cut the connection. Alarms began to sound in the lab itself. They're coming, Zakir warned. We must. The door slid open. High Commander Kazizextel himself stood there, flanked by security officers. His posture was rigid with anger or fear. The humans couldn't tell which. "Explain," the commander demanded, looking at his son and the humans. "Explain why you interfere with emergency protocols." John stepped forward, hands open in a gesture of peace. "Commander, we need to talk. Right now, Earth is preparing for war because they think you're about to attack, and you're preparing for some danger that doesn't exist." Quetzalcoatl's compound eyes seemed to narrow. "And why should I believe you?" "Because," John said firmly, "the fate of both our worlds depends on understanding one simple thing. Humans run for fun." High Commander Quetzalcoatl stared at John Miller for a long moment. The human captain stood his ground, waiting for a response. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Take them to the conference chamber," Quetzalcoatl finally ordered, "and find the other human." The security officers led John, Olivia, Kevin, and Diane to a large room they had visited during their first days on the ship. Sam was brought in shortly after, looking worried but unhurt. "Are you okay?" John asked him quietly. Sam nodded. "They didn't touch me. They were too afraid to get close while I was running." Quetzalcoatl entered with several members of the Zentari Council. Sukir was allowed to remain, though he stood apart from the others. The commander's posture was still rigid, but he seemed willing to listen. "You claim there is no danger," Quetzalcoatl began, "yet your planet has activated weapons systems." "Because they think you're preparing to attack," John explained. "Your ship surrounded Earth without explanation. We were protecting both species from the threat you detected." "But there is no threat," John insisted. Olivia had been quiet, thinking deeply. Now she stepped forward. "Commander, may I access my research data? I think I can explain what's happening." After receiving permission, Olivia used a computer terminal to bring up her xenobiology research. The screen filled with comparative diagrams of human and Zentari physiology. "The key to this misunderstanding is here," Olivia said, pointing to the images. "Look at the differences in our movement systems." She highlighted the Zentari exoskeleton structure. "Your people evolved with external skeletons. Running causes microfractures in these structures and uses enormous energy reserves. In your evolutionary history, this would only make sense as a last resort to escape death." The Zentari scientist leaned forward, studying the diagrams with interest. "Now look at human physiology," Olivia continued, switching to human skeletal and muscular systems. "Our internal skeleton and muscle arrangement is designed for sustained movement. We have cooling systems, we sweat, and our cardiovascular system can maintain increased activity for hours." Zakir moved closer to the display. "This is why you can run without damage?" "Exactly," Olivia confirmed. "Not only can we run without damage, regular running actually strengthens our systems. It's healthy for us." The Zentari Council members chittered among themselves, their compound eyes reflecting the light from the screens. "This is difficult to accept," one elder Zentari said. "Movement that would kill us is beneficial to you?" Meanwhile, on Earth, a breakthrough was happening as well. Linguist Dr. Eric Sullivan had been called in to examine all communications with the Zentari since first contact. "I think I've found something," Eric told Commander Nicole Rogers as they sat in the Earth Defense Command Center. "There's a translation issue with the Zentari word for running." "What kind of issue?" Nicole asked. Eric pointed to his notes. "Their word for running shares root structures with their terms for mortal danger and self-sacrifice. In their language, these concepts are literally linked." Nicole leaned back in her chair, understanding dawning. "So when they say they're protecting us from danger, they might be referring to whatever made our people run," Eric finished. "It's a cultural and linguistic misunderstanding." Nicole immediately opened a channel to the Zentari fleet. "This is Earth Defense Commander Nicole Rogers. We believe there has been a misunderstanding. We request to speak with our diplomatic team immediately." Back on the Zentari ship, Quetzalcoatl received the transmission. John and his team were still presenting their case about human running when the message came through. "Your military commander wishes to speak," Quetzalcoatl told John, activating the communication screen. Nicole's face appeared. "Captain Miller, are you and your team okay?" "We're fine, Commander," John replied. "We're trying to resolve a cultural misunderstanding about human running." "Dr. Sullivan just discovered the same thing," Nicole said. "The Zentari word for running is connected to concepts of danger and sacrifice." John nodded. "Olivia has been explaining our different physiologies. Commander Kazixtel, would you be willing to speak directly with Earth Command to confirm there is no threat?" The Zentari commander hesitated, then stepped into view of the screen. "I will speak to your leaders." While the commanders talked, Sam had an idea. "We need to show them, not just tell them. Olivia, do you still have those historical videos in your database?" "Yes," Olivia replied. "Earth sports, marathons, all of it. Can we access them here?" Kevin pointed to a data port. "I think we can link your tablet to their system." With help from Zakir, they connected Olivia's tablet to the Zentari display system. Soon they had access to her entire research library. "Want to show you something important?" Sam told the Zentari council members who weren't involved in the diplomatic discussion. "These are recordings from Earth history." The screens came to life with images of the ancient Olympics, of marathon runners crossing finish lines with smiles despite exhaustion, of children playing tag in schoolyards, and of jogging paths filled with humans moving at what the Zentari would consider emergency speed. "These humans are not in danger," Sam explained. "They're having fun, they're celebrating, they're exercising to stay healthy." One particularly powerful clip showed a charity marathon where thousands of humans ran together through city streets while spectators cheered. "All these humans running together," Diane pointed out, "not because of danger but to raise money to help sick children." The Zentari watched in what seemed like stunned silence. Their bodies, previously rigid with alarm, gradually relaxed as they absorbed this new information. "Fascinating," one council member finally said. "Your species turns danger movement into positive ritual." Meanwhile, Kazextel and Nicole Rogers had reached an understanding. The commander turned to John. "Your Earth leader has confirmed there is no attack planned. We will stand down our defensive posture if you guarantee there is truly no threat that caused your running." "I absolutely guarantee it," John said firmly. "Humans run for many reasons, for health, for fun, for sport, but not because we sense any danger your sensors missed." Kazextel studied John's face for a moment, then made a gesture to his officers. "Send fleet-wide instructions. Stand down emergency protocols, return to standard positions." A collective sense of relief filled the room. Earth and the Zentari had come to the edge of conflict and stepped back, all because of a simple difference in biology and culture. As the tension eased, Zakir approached his father. "The human scientists have given me an idea, Father. With your permission, I would like to study human movement patterns more closely. Perhaps we can learn from their endurance adaptations." Kazextel placed a three-fingered hand on his son's shoulder in a rare gesture of affection. "Permission granted. This misunderstanding nearly led to disaster. We must ensure it never happens again." Olivia smiled as she watched the exchange. She turned to John and whispered, "I think we might have just found the key to real understanding between our species." John nodded. Who would have thought that something as simple as running could nearly cause a war, and then help prevent one? As the humans and Zentari gathered around the displays to continue sharing information, a new chapter in interspecies relations began. The running incident would not be forgotten, but now it might become the foundation for something stronger than either species could have imagined. 6 weeks had passed since the running incident, as it was now called in both human and Zentari records. The diplomatic ship Star Voyager hung in space alongside the Zentari mothership, with smaller vessels moving between them carrying officials, scientists, and cultural representatives. John Miller stood at the viewing window of a conference room on the Star Voyager, watching the activity. Olivia Grant joined him holding 2 cups of coffee. "Hard to believe we almost went to war over jogging," she said, handing him one of the cups. John smiled. "And now look at us. The first Zentari Human Cultural Exchange Program is officially underway." In the center of the conference room, a mixed team of human and Zentari scientists huddled around displays. Sam Porter was showing something on his tablet to 2 young Zentari aides, who watched with their compound eyes reflecting the screen. The translation matrix is improving daily, Sam was saying. We've completely rebuilt the section on physical activities with proper cultural context. Diane Woods entered the room with Zikir, who had been appointed official liaison between the species. The young Zentari moved differently from others of his kind. His steps were slightly less measured, more fluid. The Earth delegation has arrived at the ceremonial hall, Diane announced. They're ready whenever we are. John nodded. Let's not keep them waiting. The human diplomatic team and their Zentari counterparts boarded a shuttle that carried them down to Earth. Through the windows, they could see the landing site, a large stadium that had been modified for the historic event. Are you nervous? John asked Zikir. The Zentari's translator conveyed his response. Yes, I am the first of my kind to participate in such an event, but I am also honored. The shuttle landed smoothly on the designated pad. When the doors opened, they were greeted by the sound of thousands of voices. The stadium was filled with humans who had come to witness this historic day. A large sign hung above the center field. First Interspecies Olympics. The human crowd had been carefully prepared for the appearance of the Zentari. Even so, there were gasps and murmurs as the six-legged aliens emerged from the shuttle. Commander Kazextel led his delegation with precise, dignified steps. Earth's leaders were waiting on a raised platform. Commander Nicole Rogers stepped forward to greet the visitors. On behalf of Earth, I welcome our Zentari friends to the first Interspecies Olympic Games. What began as a misunderstanding has become an opportunity for both our species to grow together. Kazextel stepped up to the microphone that had been adjusted for his height. The Zentari people are honored to join in this cultural exchange. We have much to learn from each other. The crowd applauded politely, mindful of not making sudden movements that might disturb the visitors. The games began with demonstrations of traditional Zentari movement arts. The crowd watched in amazement as 6 Zentari performed their precision movements, creating geometric patterns that seemed impossible for living beings to achieve. Then came modified human events. The Zentari watched with what humans now recognized as scientific curiosity rather than horror as human athletes demonstrated various sports at reduced speeds. And now, the announcer's voice boomed, the highlight of today's event, the first ever pace race. This new sport had been developed specifically for the Interspecies Olympics. In one direction, humans competed to match the precise measured movements preferred by Zentari. In the other direction, Zentari competitors attempted to maintain a slow jogging pace. John, Olivia, and the rest of the original diplomatic team watched from special seats near the field. Look at Zikir, Olivia said, pointing to the starting line. The young Zentari stood among 5 of his kind. All wore special flexible supports on their leg joints, designed by a collaborative engineering team to reduce strain. He's been training for weeks, Kevin commented. I've never seen anyone so determined. The starting signal sounded. The Zentari began their careful jog, moving faster than any of their kind typically would. The crowd cheered encouragingly, keeping their celebration restrained out of respect. John noticed High Commander Kazextel watching his son from the VIP section. The commander's posture showed concern, but also pride. Halfway through the course, one Zentari slowed and withdrew, clearly uncomfortable with the movement. 2 others followed shortly after. But Zikir and 1 other continued, their steps careful but steady. They're actually doing it, Sam whispered in amazement. They're running. Not running by our standards, Olivia corrected. But for them, this is extraordinary. When Zikir crossed the finish line, he was the only Zentari left in the race. The stadium erupted in controlled applause. Humans understood now that loud, sudden noises disturbed Zentari sensory systems. Later that evening, a formal reception brought together representatives from both species. Humans practiced the measured movements that showed respect in Zentari culture. Zentari attempted human handshakes with their 3-fingered hands. John found Zikir standing near a window, looking out at the Earth sunset. Congratulations on your race today, John said. You've made history. Zikir turned, his compound, eyes catching the golden light. I could only complete the course because of the joint supports your engineers helped design. But it was An interesting experience. Was it painful? John asked. Yes, Zakir admitted. But also exhilarating. I understand now why humans might run for pleasure, even if our physiologies experience it differently. Across the room, Diane was overseeing a cultural sensitivity team that monitored interactions between the species. She had become the head of a new diplomatic division focused solely on human-Zentari relations. Have you seen this? Olivia asked, joining John and Zizkir. She held up a tablet displaying a book cover. The title read, Running Toward Peace, a Guide to Physiological and Cultural Differences Between Humans and Zentari. The first copies were released today, Olivia explained, co-authored by Captain John Miller and Junior Science Officer Zakir. It's already the most requested download in both human and Zentari networks. John smiled. Who would have thought our diplomatic disaster would turn into a bestseller? Commander Kizixtal approached their group. The once intimidating Zentari leader had become a strong advocate for continued cooperation between the species. Captain Miller, he said formally, your cultural exchange program has exceeded expectations. The Zentari High Council has approved the next phase. That's excellent news, John replied. What does the next phase involve? A permanent embassy on Earth for Zentari diplomats, and one on our homeworld for humans. Kizixtal's translator couldn't convey emotion, but his body language showed satisfaction. And continued development of the modified movement program. 5 years passed. On a specially designed track in the Joint Human-Zentari Research Center, Olivia Grant waited at the finish line of a modified 5K course. Beside her stood dozens of human and Zentari observers. Zakir, now the Zentari ambassador to Earth, approached the finish line. He wore the latest version of the exoskeleton supports, much more advanced than the early prototypes. Beside him jogged 5 young Zentari, all moving at what their species would once have considered an impossible pace. As the small group crossed the finish line, both humans and Zentari celebrated in their own ways, humans with cheers, Zentari with precisely timed movements of their upper limbs. They've come so far, John said, joining Olivia at the finish line. He had a few more gray hairs now, and the rank insignia of an admiral on his uniform. Olivia nodded. Both our species have. Who could have imagined this 5 years ago? They watched as Zakir demonstrated a cooling down stretch to his young followers. Around them, humans and Zentari worked together, each adapting to the other's needs and limitations. What had begun with horror at humans running had ended with 2 species learning to move forward together, each at their own pace but heading in the same direction.